Hey guys, sorry I'm posting this around like 8:15 or so. I was having some internet issues earlier. Thank you first of all to all those that came to the Zoom on Wednesday. That was awesome. We had a good discussion, and the Zoom lesson on Thursday will start at 12:30, and it'll go to 1:30, and it's optional. But I would suggest that you might want to be there because we're actually going to work on some stuff together as a class. About how to like source these documents and like basically this assignment that I'm posting now on that Thursday Zoom call, we're going to kind of go in and deep dive what I'm looking for. So what we're doing today on for Thursday, it says using the documents provided in your knowledge of world history, analyze the degree to which the Mongol Empire affected societies of Afro-Eurasia in the 13th and 14th centuries. We actually, you might even remember some of these documents. We actually did this already before, and we talked about some of this stuff. So how did the analyze the degree to which the Mongol empires affected different societies in Afro-Eurasia in the 13th and 14th centuries? And I give you 5 documents. All right. And the source is all at the top, and then the document, source document, and the last one is an image. And if you have trouble seeing that image, there's a link here you can go and kind of zoom in. So your job, what you have to do is you're filling out this pre-write. So I don't expect it to be perfect. I don't expect it to be amazing their first try, but that's why I really hope that you can jump on the Zoom call if possible. And if that time doesn't work for you, send me a message and we can set up a different time later in the day or earlier in the day that might work for you to try and talk about some of these things. So the first thing you want to do, it says deconstruct the prompt. So the prompt is this right here. This is the question that I'm asking you. Because hint, hint, over the weekend, you're probably going to write a DBQ. Hint, hint. All right. So the pre-write, what is the time period of the prompt? What is the topic? What thinking skill could you use to maybe frame your argument? And now I'm telling you this now, these answers that you give in this might change as you move forward. But so you're not like, don't have to do it, but what is your idea? What do you think it could be? And then you can go back and edit this later. It's all in there. So what skill, if we're talking about the degree to which it affected different societies, could it be cause and effect? Could it be continuity and change? Could it be, maybe similarities and differences? But that word affected, the best, it's probably a hint that it's cause and effect. If not, it could be a continuity and change. I'd probably lean towards those two. Now, the next part, there's a document, right? So the next part, it says brainstorm answers to the prompt. So if you're trying to think, all right, what are some ways that the Mongols affected different societies? Well, first, what did the Mongols do? Where did they go? What areas did they kind of conquer and invade? And then once you know that, what did they do to those places? And if you don't know that, you might want to maybe read the documents, maybe go on your AMSCO and look at some things. Brainstorm a couple, maybe some answers like, we know that they will eventually take over China. What did they do in China that maybe affected people in China? What did they do that maybe affected parts of like northern India or the Middle East or Eastern Europe, right? And then context. So we're talking about the Mongols, right? So they're going to pop up in like 1300s. What are some specific terms or events that you could use in your context that you could relate to this question? So when I say context, you're setting the scene. So what's going on before the Mongols take over? What's going on maybe during that time period of the Mongols, or possibly even what happens after? But the big thing that you might want to talk about is like what's going on before. What are some empires that are there exist before? We talked about a few. We talked about what was going on in Europe. We talked about what was going on in the Middle East, the Abbasids, the Moors in Spain, the different groups in Africa, in India, all these different places. So what's going on maybe before, but also how does that connect to that question about how they were affected by the Mongols. So a good idea here is like 2 to 3 specific terms. I mean, you could talk about trade routes. You could talk about cross cultural interactions. You could talk about Islam. You could talk about any of these different things. These empire building, etc. And then how does that connect to the time period of when the Mongols are about to take over? The next thing, each document. Now you can do this. I would do this like I would read through the document and then jot down some key ideas that you think you might be able to use. And here's where I say this could change later, because if you actually make your thesis, it says specific idea that you could take from document to support your argument. You didn't make your argument yet, but what are some ideas you think you could take from that document that might support an argument? And then write those things in, source it. Who's the author? What is maybe the purpose of the document, and how do you have evidence to support that? Who is maybe the intended audience, and why was this written, and what's the point? Like, why might it affect that audience? Point of view. So this author or source, what is the point of view, and how might that affect the document? Evidence not mentioned that could be used to support the document. Now, this is something that you need 2 points of outside evidence. So what's something maybe not mentioned that could be used to maybe support this doc? This, I will say, you only have to fill in maybe like 2 of these. If you don't know, you just fill out a couple. All right, you don't have to fill in every single one. And then you're going to try and group. So once you've read the 5 documents, what are 2 ways that they affected societies in Afro-Eurasia? They affected them in this way and this way. 2 broad groups. And then what are some documents you could use to support this answer, documents you could use to support this answer, and what's maybe one piece of outside evidence for each of these groups? Okay? Then the last part, you're going to try to write a thesis in response to this DBQ prompt. So once you come up with your information, your argument group 1, argument group 2, what could you possibly, what is your argument? What could you possibly say? Basically, so within the time period in the prompt, which would be 13th and 14th century. Yeah, 13th, 14th century, which is 12 and 1300s. So in the period, from 12 and 1300s, blah, 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 2 ways that the Mongols affected societies in Afro-Eurasia were blank and blank. Okay? So I know this is a lot. That's why I implore you to jump on that Zoom call tomorrow. I'm starting a half hour early, or message me with say like, hey, the 12:30, 1:30 doesn't work. So can we do something maybe like around 2 or 3 or 4? Like, just let me know. I'll try and work something out. All right. Good luck.